say my sisters are overly dramatic. And when I looked up the meaning of dramatic, it said showing drama or the performance is what it meant. Now, there's a few things that I think that the stigma comes from, where people want to say that my sisters may be overly dramatic. One of them is some of the things that folks may post that are showing that there's some sister, sometimes ignorant, sometimes not, but they may post something with a sister that the video goes viral because she's being very animated, she's being very upset, causing a lot of mayhem in that particular environment. Again, I always say you got to understand context. You got to figure out what sides of the story they are. You can't just look at, boom, something led up to that. You see the video when it's at that stage, but you didn't see what led up to that. As I always say, I don't condone ignorance at all. Not even for me supporting my sisters. I don't condone ignorance. But what I will say is that there are times where sisters are going to have to respond a certain way. And maybe, again, that's not the time and place. But we have to go back to mentorship. We have to go back to the guidance of being able to speak to our sisters just like our brothers. They have to be able to see examples. May not have examples in their life, family-wise, friends-wise. But we have to set the example and let folks know that, hey, you know what? Some things you got to handle it a little bit different. So that's one thing that I can only think of is the videos that folks post when they post that stuff. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, most of the videos that people are posting about my sisters are probably someone who's ignorant. Someone who's ignorant. Not a lot of times. Well, let me not say 9 times out of 10. A good portion of the videos may be some folks that you pick out that just happen to be ignorant folks. Because again, a lot of my sisters don't act like that. But you're going to get those isolated areas or time frames, circumstances where you're going to catch somebody who just is on that time when they come out the house or when they are in that particular environment. Now, the other thing about the dramatic, overly dramatic, that part I think comes from the whole dating issue from my brothers. My brothers who will talk about that, oh, it's all this drama with the sisters and, you know, I got to go through all these different types of problems with them. You hear a lot of this, man, with these men. And I'm not saying that that's not possible. I'm not saying that you may not be accurate in your situation. But again, I always say there's 2 sides to a story. And if all of a sudden you find out that the person you were dating or you were married to was sleeping with another woman, what do you think the response is going to be? Oh, even for the brothers. Oh, if they found out. Oh, there's a whole lot of stuff that these brothers go wild on if they found out that their woman was cheating. So who says what's drama and who does the drama? Again, it's context. There may be some things that women are having to go through in their relationships, dealing with the men, and it causes them to respond in a certain type of manner. Now, again, do I say that that's there's not a right time and place to do certain things? Absolutely not. But if they're in their house, they're in their home, and those things happen, then it's in the privacy. They're being private about it. But the other thing for my sisters, the other thing is, sometimes my sisters got to understand when you are being provoked. When you're being provoked by people to bring that out of you. To bring that type of response out of you. You got to start being more mindful of that. Because sometimes that stuff happens a lot. You get paired up with folks, relationships, friends, or whatever. And all of a sudden, because you hadn't worked on yourself, then you have these responses. So that's kind of where I guess this overly dramatic stuff kind of comes from, is either some type of video that somebody saw, some type of experience somebody saw when they were in the store or whatever, and then from a relationship standpoint. And for whatever reason, we all want to get on here and we want to speak about our differences and our grievances with the opposite sex. And you see, it seems like it's predominant with, well, maybe it is more predominant with our folks, our brothers and sisters. They want to speak about and fight with each other and talk about who's wrong and why things happen and all this other stuff, when you know that other races go through the same thing. Now, the only difference is that the other races may not post these things. I don't see so many of these. You're starting to see it a little bit now, but it's not this thing where you see many other races that are really battling each other and they're posting it so that you can see it. They haven't, the men, you don't see these other races, a lot of these men there. Like I said, some of it's starting to happen now, but it hadn't been before, where you see the men coming on here and they're chastising their women. You don't see that as much, or you hadn't seen that as much as it does between our own folks. We do that. So then what that does is that gives a cosign for all these other races to do the same exact thing. When we know that all these other races do the same thing, they have the same problems, because it's a human problem. It ain't no racial thing. It's a human problem. As long as you're human and you have emotions, everybody is going to have some type of dramatics involved. Everybody, like I said, lies, cheats, steals, does evil, does bad. Everybody does those things in all these cultures. It is not fixed on my sisters or my brothers. The problem is, again, we feed the tubes. We feed this information. So then people see the faces and they're like, yep, those are the ones who do it. Just like the news. All of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but we've always been criminals. We're the worst folks on the planet. But little did you know, what's happening now is that the reporting is happening now. Before, it was kind of stuff that they kicked underneath the rug. They didn't want like I said, they didn't want other races to be told about what they do, because it was an embarrassment. They wanted to project a certain image. But now, you can't sweep it underneath the rug. Now everybody's kind of mixing with everybody. And everybody's revealing everything. And now all of a sudden, oh, you seem to be the same way that we're portrayed. So, that's my take on my sisters supposedly being overly dramatic. I don't know. It's the same to me when I see some of these other women who talk about that they got cheated on and they're cutting up a storm and acting silly and stuff like that. They're kind of doing the same thing, so I guess so. I'm gonna catch you on the next note. Peace out.